Let's first start this off by saying low carb diets and keto can be very advantageous for some folks. In fact, they have been a game changer for people looking to lower their BMI, metabolic syndromes, as well as epilepsy. So this video isn't to bash the significance that low carb has on certain groups of people. This video is more so for those who had a rise in their cholesterol or are wondering if the same will happen to them if they start and want to know how to get around it. Because a small subset of people do experience a rise in their total cholesterol levels and LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, and it's a good idea to know where to start if this were to happen, so stay with me till the end. Also, real quick before we get started, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and turn the bell on to stay up to date with new weekly videos. Now, the ideal way to know whether or not to fully go low carb or keto is to know what your numbers are first. But of course, no one really checks their levels before they start any diet. But if you know me, I'm always a fan of having your lab data in front of you at all times and rechecking every few months to see if there are any significant changes along the way. Most people already know about HDL, LDL, triglycerides, total cholesterol levels, but there may be even a better marker called the ldl-p, which measures how many LDL particles are floating around in your bloodstream according to this study. ldl-p is different than ldl-c, which measures how many cholesterol your LDL particles are carrying around. ldl-c is what is most commonly measured on standard blood tests. You can have your doctor measure your ldl-p or ApoB, which is another way of measuring LDL particle number, to get even a more detailed assessment of your cholesterol. But I understand not everyone will have access to these tests, right? They're expensive and not every country has them. Proponents of keto diets and low carb diets argue that an increase in cholesterol levels and LDL shouldn't worry you. But are these same proponents looking at fine details like LDL-p or ApoB, which are more thorough assessments? That's really the only issue. You don't find many of them asking if familial hypercholesterolemia runs in the family or encouraging you to ask your doctor if going low carb is even right for you in the first place, as every individual will have a different response to it. And I feel like these tidbits and caveats are really forgotten these days. Secondly, on this note, it's good to rule out any other conditions that could be contributing to the rise of cholesterol, like familial hypercholesterolemia, since these really don't have anything to do with the diet itself. One example of that is reduced thyroid function, right? When thyroid function is lower than optimal, total and LDL cholesterol can go up. This study showed us that hypothyroid patients usually had an increase in low-density lipoprotein cholesterol. Also to point out is that a rapid drop in weight can cause this to happen as well. If your levels go up after rapid weight loss, you may want to wait for a few months and then measure them again when your weight stabilizes. Another factor that is often overlooked is genetic variations of the gene ApoE. For example, if you have epsilon-2/epsilon-2 genotype, you naturally may have lower LDL values versus those who have epsilon-4/epsilon-4 genotypes. Now that we got a good understanding of the labs and the other conditions to rule out, let's look at what you can do to bring those levels down. The first is to try removing bulletproof coffee from your diet. Bulletproof coffee is very trendy and loved by the paleo community. It involves adding 1 to 2 tablespoons of MCT oil and 2 tablespoons of butter into your morning coffee. I love coffee, butter, and coconut oil, don't get me wrong. Not everyone will thrive on these though, especially at the frequency that everyone's drinking them. If you drink bulletproof coffee and have cholesterol problems, like I said, try removing it from your diet and then retest back again. The second thing you can do is replace saturated fats and trans fats with monounsaturated fats. Now, that's not to say saturated fats are bad. Trans fats are the bad guys, though. Those are the ones you want to watch out for. And about 5 billion people are still exposed to them. And they have no right to be in our food since they contribute to a ton of inflammation.
Most restaurants and food manufacturers in Canada have reduced or eliminated artificial trans fats over the past decade voluntarily. But some smaller operations are holding out because trans fat oils are cheap, and that's kept a steady, albeit dwindling pipeline of trans fats coming to Canadian suppliers from the US.
Here is a diagram of what each look like. Trans fats in some places around the world can be found in frozen pizzas, baked foods, and processed foods. Saturated fats are your butters, cheeses, and red meat, and unsaturated fats are your avocados, flax meals, walnuts, and olives, for example. A simple modification you can make to see if you can lower your levels would be to start cooking with extra virgin olive oil instead of butter and coconut oil. You can also swap the bacon and red meat for fatty fish once a week. Something unique about olive oil is that it enriches the LDL with oleic acid and cytosterol, which decreases lipid peroxidation, which could be an advantage. The third thing you can do is eat more fiber-rich foods and don't worry about ketosis. Who said low carb means it has to be keto? Keto limits you to under 50 grams of carbs a day, sometimes even under 20, but you could still be considered low carb if you're under 100 to 150 grams of carbs a day. If your goal is to lower BMI and your waist, the benefits of fiber can be seen in these three mechanisms. It has its hormonal effects, intrinsic effects, and caloric effects, which all lead to the same goal. And these are the goals to aim for according to the Institute of Medicine. 50 and younger for men aim for 38 grams a day, and 50 and younger for women aim for 25 a day. And here's a small list of foods that contain high amounts of fiber, with navy beans providing 19 grams per cup and avocados providing 13 grams per avocado. Also guys, exercising, getting better sleep, and minimizing stress levels can help you get back to a normal range and hopefully offset any drastic changes that could arise if you do decide to start your low carb journey, or if you already have and notice an uptick in cholesterol. And again, this is really only a troubleshooting guide for the small group of people who do experience cholesterol problems while going low carb. And there are benefits to both types of methods, and with both, there may be adjustments you need to make in order to make it work towards your advantage. So again, this is only for troubleshooting and not really a hard and fast rule. But I'm more curious to hear from you guys though. What are your thoughts about this? Leave them in the comments below, and until then guys, I'll see you on the next one.
So it's important to differentiate between what is saturated fat. So saturated fat, of course, is a fatty acid, just so people understand. Totally different molecule from cholesterol. Cholesterol is this very complicated ring structure, multiple rings stuck together. SFA, saturated fat, is just a long chain fatty acid that is fully saturated, meaning it has no double bonds. And it can exist in isolation. It can exist in a triglyceride, triacylglyceride, or a phospholipid, or all sorts of things like that.